please respect the rules and have absolutely no food or beverage other than water in this room. Please also silence your cell phones. We've received some feedback from the public that sometimes it's difficult to hear the members and those before the commission, both in the room and over live stream. So anyone addressing the commission, please make sure to speak up and speak into the long microphone at the podium so you can be heard, and so our broadcast audio can pick up your comments. To my fellow commission members, please speak up and into the long microphones so your comments and debate can be heard. Members, please be as brief and concise as possible in your questions and comments, since we have a number of items for consideration today. Pursuant to Section 286.0114 Florida statutes, members of the public have the opportunity to have input on matters before the commission other than in cases in which we act in a quasi-judicial capacity. This means the public can have input on matters other than complaints, opinions, and determinations in financial disclosures cases. If you desire to be heard on a matter, please fill out a speaker card and give it to Ms. Fulford, who has her hand up. All right, first item on the agenda, well, not true. Third item on the agenda is consideration of our meeting minutes from the video conference remote meeting that we have on February 22nd. Is there a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
Motion.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then on to consideration of our March 8th, 2024 public session minutes, which was our last live meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right, moving on to item number 5 is consideration of pre-probable cause stipulation in the matter of In re Henry Rosenthal, number 23-168. Will the parties or their counsel please identify themselves for the record?
Melody Hadley, Commission Advocate.
All right, we have before us a proposed pre-probable cause stipulation between the commission advocate and respondent. This matter is being considered in the public session meeting because the respondent, in signing and filing a pre-probable cause stipulation, waived confidentiality. Complainants have the right to comment in writing on the proposed stipulations. We have not received any comments from the complainant in this case. After considering all the materials and presentations of the parties, the commission may vote to approve or to reject the stipulation. As this is a pre-probable cause stipulation, if the stipulation is rejected, we will go immediately into a probable cause hearing in this complaint. Are there any members who need to make a disclosure? All right, go ahead, Ms. Hadley.
At this time, I bring before you a pre-probable cause stipulation. Respondent acknowledged that he used his position to obtain a disproportionate benefit for himself in violation of Article 2, Section 8H2 Florida Constitution, and he used his position to benefit himself and or another in violation of Section 112.3136 Florida statutes. As this is a pre-probable cause stipulation where respondent has readily admitted the violations prior to a hearing before this commission, we ask the commission to accept Ronda's stipulation that he violated the Code of Ethics and recommend a total civil penalty of $2,500 with public censure and reprimand.
Are there any questions from the members? All right, is there a motion to adopt the stipulation?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, we've got one more pre-probable cause stipulation. This one is In re Michael Cusack, case 23-200. Will parties or counsel identify themselves for the record in this matter?
Mark Aaron on behalf of Michael Cusack.
Morning.
Melody Hadley, Commission Advocate.
All right, you can go ahead and present the stipulation.
At this time, we bring before you a pre-probable cause stipulation. As this is a pre-probable cause stipulation, respondent has admitted the violation. We ask the commission to accept the stipulation and dismiss allegations 1 and 2. We further ask the commission to accept the stipulation that he violated Section 112.3138 in allegation 3 and impose a civil penalty of $1,500.
Are there any questions for Ms. Hadley? Mr. Herron, would you like to be heard?
Madam Chair, members of the committee or the commission, we urge you to adopt the joint stipulation. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt the pre-probable cause stipulation?
Move the advocate's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you both. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, is consideration of probable cause. Our first matter is complaint number 23, this is, okay, 23-225, and Ray Joseph B. Pinder III. Are the respondent, complainant, or other counsel in attendance?
Mark Aaron on behalf of Joseph Pinder.
All right, the probable cause determination is the conclusion of the preliminary investigation. Respondent and advocate are permitted to make brief statements in the nature of oral argument to the commission based on the investigator's report. Excuse me. The advocate's recommendation, the complaint, and staff recommendations, as well as written statements submitted by respondent. No testimony or other evidence will be accepted. And this hearing is being conducted in the public session because respondent in this complaint, because the respondent provided a written waiver of confidentiality. I apologize that I'm coughing and tripping over my words. I'm getting over being sick. If probable cause is found today, the respondent will have the opportunity to request a full evidentiary hearing before an ALJ at the Division of Administrative Hearings. The advocate and the respondent will have 10 minutes. The commission advocate will present first, and then we'll hear from the respondent. Are there any members who need to make a disclosure? All right, Ms. Hadley, go ahead.
Respondent was elected to the Village Council on November 3rd, 2020, and re-elected on November 8th, 2022. He now serves as mayor. During his 2020 campaign, respondent had Attention Media LLC, owned by Carlos Garcia, film a campaign video. A few months later, the Village Council unanimously approved a 4-month contract with AML to develop a media outreach pilot program for the village. The scope of services included that the content produced for the project would be curated by AML with direct input from council members and village staff, and that AML would work closely with each council member. The contract stated AML should not provide social media or marketing services to political candidates that are running for village council or any other position within the village. Subsequent to that 4-month contract, AML and the village re-entered into another contract. On November 13, 2022, after the 2022 election was completed and respondent was re-elected, Garcia filmed a video called Thank You, Isla Morada, between noon and 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. The 86-second video was filmed in segments with respondent riding his 3-wheeled bicycle through the Founders Park gate and around the lighthouse. Respondent was displaying campaign signs and a large American flag. At the 22-second mark, respondent stops to high-five the park attendant, and subsequently AML released a video on social media. According to respondent, the purpose of the video was to express his thanks to the community, and Garcia determined the content. Respondent denied that he discussed this with the park attendant or park supervisors prior to the filming. There are 2 allegations. One, that respondent violated Article 2, Section 8H2, Florida Constitution, by using public funds for his election campaign. It is alleged that respondent used public funds for the election campaign by using a village contract employee, Carlos Garcia, to create and post a video on social media, and also by having another village employee who was on the clock take part in the video. While the contract banned service to political candidates that are running for village council, the vote had already occurred, and respondent was no longer a candidate running for office. Respondent's conduct does not conflict with the contract's terms. As such, there is insufficient evidence that respondent had a wrongful intent with respect to obtaining a disproportionate benefit. I recommend a finding of no probable cause. The second allegation is that respondent misused his position by using public funds for his election campaign. Again, same circumstances as the first allegation. I recommend a finding of no probable cause.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Hadley? All right, Mr. Herron?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, we would urge you to adopt the advocate's recommendation of no probable cause, specifically citing what Ms. Hadley just referenced, is that no public funds were used to support the mayor's campaign. This was a post-election video to thank the voters. Also, in your reports of investigation, you will note that other members of the Islamorada Council had used these services, not necessarily for this, but this is a thing that other members had used from time to time. And so we'd urge you to adopt the advocate's recommendation. And I'm ready, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Are there any questions from the members? Thank you. Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry?
No,
Is there a
no, it's-
question? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the advocate's recommendation?
But before we do that, can we have a brief discussion?
Of course.
I understand and agree with the dismissal of this. It does seem, and I don't know if it's appropriate for us, to be something that perhaps this gentleman should be thoroughly advised about the inappropriateness of. Mr. Aaron may have already done that.
The report of investigation indicates that the contract with this individual, that company, has been canceled by the city. It was viewed as not being necessary by the new city manager.
No, I don't quite mean it that way. What I mean is he's one step removed from the election and from this being a violation. To have used this, and if it ever can, maybe it can never come up again, I don't know. But it strikes me as not a smart thing to have done that he should be aware of.
I know that Mr. Pinder is watching on the video, and so I think he's heard your comments.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any other discussion or comment from the members before someone makes a motion?
I move the approval of the advocate's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All right. Moving on to item number 7. Well, actually, since Mr. Pinder's, we now know that Mr. Pinder's watching, the finding of no probable cause will be public. Oh, wait, we're in the public session. It feels like the upside down, doing probable cause in public session, so. Anywho, moving on to item number 7. Okay, this is appeals from automatic fines for failure to timely file annual financial disclosure form. None of the listed appellants requested to be heard, so there'll be no oral or an oral presentation on the content of these appeals unless a member requests it. We'll be considering number 5 on this list separately. Other than number 5, are there any appeals a member wants to set aside for separate presentation by the staff or make a disclosure on? Okay, seeing none. Are there any questions from the members on any of the appeals on numbers 1 through 4? Right, is there a motion with respect to items 1 through 4?
I move the acceptance of the recommended order on items 1 through 4.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item number 5. I'll recognize Commissioner Figurs for his abstention.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 5 is a vote to resolve my appeal of automatic financial disclosure fine. The vote of this matter inquires of any special privilege or gain or loss, and I have filed in making that its voting conflict memorandum today. In compliance to my requirement of this voting conflict law, I will step down from the dais, and I am available to answer any questions and sit in the gallery. Thank you.
Once Commissioner Figurs makes his way down, Steve, if you want to go ahead and present the draft order.
It's just not worried. We're just investing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, the appellant in this matter is Freddie Figurs. Although you know him now as a commissioner on this body, he was a member of the Board of Directors of Enterprise Florida in 2021, which required him to file a 2021 Form 1. Commissioner Figurs filed his form late and it was automatically assessed a fine. He now appeals that fine. For your benefit and for the benefit of the public watching here in the room and over the live stream, I will first provide some context for this appeal by explaining the law and the appeal process. Every year, financial disclosure forms are due on July 1, and there's a penalty-free grace period until September 1. After September 1, fines start to automatically accrue according to statute. The fines accrue at the rate of $25 per day for a total maximum of $1,500 for 60 days. I want to be clear about what these fines are. The automatic fines issued for a late financial disclosure are entirely distinct from the civil penalties this board recommends for violations of the ethics code that we find after having investigated a complaint from the public. And those civil penalties can range up to $20,000. In comparison to those civil penalties, the automatic fines for filing a late financial disclosure are different because, one, there is no complaint from the public. Two, there is no investigation. Three, the board has no discretion in the amount of the penalty. And four, the penalty does not need to be imposed by the governor because it is imposed automatically by statute. To use an analogy, if the civil penalties you recommend after finding an ethics violation are the criminal law equivalent of a felony or a misdemeanor, then the automatic fine for a late financial disclosure form is essentially a speeding ticket. Much like a speeding ticket, there is a process for disputing an automatic fine. According to the financial disclosure laws, a financial disclosure filer can successfully appeal an automatic fine and have their fine waived if they can show that an unusual circumstance was present. We have a rule that defines what an unusual circumstance is. Rule 34-8.215 of the Florida Administrative Code defines unusual circumstances as uncommon, rare, or sudden events over which the reporting individual had no control and which directly result in a failure to act in accordance with the filing requirements. The procedure for evaluating these appeals is straightforward. The appellant supplies a reason for the late filing and supplies as much support for that reason as they have. The Commission does not investigate these appeals because the Commission does not have authority to investigate outside the presence of a complaint or a referral. The Commission simply evaluates the information provided and determines whether the filing was prevented by an unusual circumstance. With that understanding, I will now turn to the facts of the matter before you. The 2021 Form 1 was due on July 1 of 2022. There was a penalty-free grace period until September 1 of 2022. The Commission did not receive Commissioner Figurs' appeal by then, so fines started to accrue against him at the rate of $25 per day. The Commission had sent a few notices of the filing requirement to Commissioner Figurs by that point. On September 13, 2022, the Commission sent a notice that fines were beginning to accrue. On September 19, Commissioner Figurs emailed Katie Richardson. Ms. Richardson was an employee of Enterprise Florida and had historically assisted Commissioner Figurs with his financial disclosure forms by mailing them to the Commission on Ethics. His email to her indicated that he thought the financial disclosure forms were already taken care of. Commissioner Figurs thought this because, according to his appeal, he had signed and completed a Form 1 for that year and had given it to Ms. Richardson to transmit to the Commission on Ethics, as he had done in years past. In those years past, that process had resulted in a successful and timely filing of the Form 1. So, later in that day, on September 19, Ms. Richardson emailed the staff of the Commission on Ethics to indicate that both she and Commissioner Figurs both thought that the 2021 Form 1 had been taken care of. The staff of the Commission called Ms. Richardson and left her a voicemail message on September 21, 2022, requesting a call back. On October 3, the staff of the Commission emailed Ms. Richardson again to inform her that Commissioner Figurs had not yet filed the form and that fines were accruing. It's important to note that these two communications were directed to Ms. Richardson in an effort to respond to her September 19 email to the Commission. Commissioner Figurs was not included in either communication. The Commission's communications logs do not indicate that we received any response to those communications from Ms. Richardson. On December 8, 2022, the Commission emailed Commissioner Figurs to notify him that the automatic fine had reached the amount of $1,500 and that the Commission had not yet received his disclosure form. On December 12, 2022, He again emailed Ms. Richardson and again indicated to her that he thought the form had been taken care of. Commissioner Figurs ultimately filed his Form 1 on July 28, 2023. The draft order before you finds that there were unusual circumstances that prevented the filing of Commissioner Figurs' 2021 Form 1. According to his appeal, he recalls signing the form and giving it to Ms. Richardson as he had in years past, which had always resulted in this timely filing of his form. This is consistent with the Commission's communications log, which shows that Commissioner Figurs emailed Ms. Richardson to indicate that he thought the form was taken care of, and it appears Ms. Richardson thought the form had been processed because she also emailed the Commission to indicate that she too thought the form had been taken care of. By using the same process to file the form that he had in years past, Commissioner Figurs took steps reasonably calculated to achieve the successful filing of his Form 1 with the Commission on Ethics. But it appears that something unusual happened here, something inconsistent with prior years that prevent the filing of the form. I included a final order from 2020 in the materials for this matter, where we resolved a financial disclosure appeal where the filer had completed their financial disclosure form and had given it to someone else to mail, but the form did not arrive at the Commission on Ethics. The Commission waived the fine in that instance. Because there is precedent for waiving the automatic fine in a similar circumstance, and because the reason supplied here seems to indicate that something unexpected and different than what had happened in prior years had occurred here to prevent the timely filing, I recommend in the draft order that the automatic fine in this appeal be waived. I offer the draft for your consideration, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have about it.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the members or any comments?
I have two things I want to make sure I'm absolutely clear about. First, if I'm understanding you, the respondent delegated the responsibility for completing this process to somebody else.
So we're clear on the vocabulary, he's not a respondent, he's an appellant in this matter. My understanding of the appeal is that he signed a form to complete it and then gave it to somebody else to mail and to transmit.
He signed after somebody else prepared it and got everything. Took care of all of the logistics.
I'm not sure who filled out the form. That was not part of the appeal.
And then second, all of these, has this been done, communications were after the deadline?
I'm sorry, say that again?
All of these communications, has this been taken care of, or after the filing deadline?
That's right. Once the communications that I've referenced here that I thought were relevant to our discussion today, these all started after fines had begun to accrue, so the filing obligation should have occurred before that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Please go ahead.
I have a question and a comment. Will the electronic filing prohibit things like this in the future?
Electronic filing will cut out the need for somebody or the ability for somebody to hand off the form to somebody else, because you have your own personal login with your own password that's ostensibly private. So you'll be filling out your own form unless you authorize a CPA or an attorney to fill out your form, in which case there's a process in the system for that where you provide their email address, they get their own registration, they log in, they fill out the form. What they can't do is they can't submit the form. The form gets returned to the filer where they have to click the submit button. So at all instances, the filer has to log in ultimately and click submit.
So will negate those?
Electronic filing would negate this.
Which is what this was set up to do in the first place, to have an individual do it themselves. My comment was, when I was on council, we did the same thing. We had an administrator. She made sure that we had all of our stuff done and turned in, and we gave it to her, and it got turned in. It always did, until it didn't. So I can understand how it can happen. I never had a problem with it, but that's usually the way it goes on some of these boards. They have an individual. I think they want to quantify the rationale for their being, their job, so they corral the individuals. You guys are, I want to make sure all this stuff is turned in and just get
It's contemporaneous with that time.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I have one. As our general counsel and one who has to review these types of issues, I assume by your recommendation, but I'd like you to confirm it orally, that your recommendation that this fine be waived is consistent in as much as we can be in understanding and comparing like circumstances in the law with respect to the definition of unusual circumstances.
Yeah, I have zero heartburn about the recommendation I'm making here. I think historically I've proven I wouldn't put the interest of one of our commissioners before, and recommend to 5 of you that you do something that is suspect. I feel like there's precedent out there for this decision. I feel like we've done other other final orders similarly here. I don't feel like this is an outlier in any way to what this commission has historically done. The definition of an unusual circumstance is something that rare or sudden or some sort of rare occurrence that the individual had no control over that prevented the filing. I think that's what we have here. He had an expectation based on prior years that in giving the form to this person would result in a timely filing. And so he did exactly what should have been reasonably calculated to effectuate a filing in years past. And it was unexpected that this would have happened. It meets the definition of an unusual circumstance. I don't have any reservations about that legal recommendation to you.
This is, so this is not setting precedent because it's been done before for reasons that you just mentioned.
I don't feel like we're treading new ground here at all.
Also, the individual that got the fees waived was not a commissioner.
Not a commissioner of this body, no. They were, bear with me one moment. They were a member of the Florida State Fair Authority.
So there's no preference in treatment in doing something like this.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sherfield?
Are we at the point of discussion?
Certainly.
All right, here's the problem I have with this, and I'll use my own experience as a reference. When I was state attorney, I had about 50 people who had to file financial disclosures because I was so paranoid that they would all actually do it and do it timely. I required that they all bring them to me afterwards, and then I bulk mailed them. And after I bulk mailed them, I checked the website regularly to make sure that they had, in fact, been received. Over the years, there was once or twice a problem with that we were able to remedy, but we always made sure that they got them there. To delegate preparation and handling and all of that is one thing, but it strikes me as a step beyond that to make assumptions when it's your responsibility to get it done. I think I know exactly what the IRS would say if I told them on April 20th, oh, I thought it had been mailed in time. I don't think the answer would be favorable to me. So with all due respect, I cannot find this to be an unusual circumstance.
Yes, one moment. First of all, I like to think that we have a little bit more integrity than the IRS. That's a joke. But I just want to make a comment because I understand that and I think that that's an excellent practice, and may we all be so thorough. But I do want to, since this is a public meeting and the public is watching, we routinely, in these unusual circumstances cases, find that somebody who files an appeal and says, I didn't get it. We can't prove they did, so we accept that. And so I appreciate the thoroughness of the factual background supplied in this appeal, whether it's best practices or not. I appreciate the thoroughness, I understand, and I appreciate very much, Steve, your thorough analysis and presentation and the confidence with which you presented your recommendation.
I was gonna actually make a motion to accept the recommendation to waive the fines.
Okay, is there any?
I'll second that comment.
Sure.
That's why I asked the question about electronic filing, because, you know, as one of our members just stated, they batch them up and send them in. That's the process, and it's still happening today, this day. But now with electronic filing, requiring a password to log in, the onus is gonna be on the individual that's supposed to do it in the first place, which was the intent.
Is there, so there's a motion, is there any further discussion? Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against?
Nay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can Commissioner Figurs rejoin us now? Okay. We'll just take 2 minutes before we move on to item number 8.
And you guys tell him short, because he's gonna be able to see on the video.
I'm sorry?
They send him out of the room, so none of you guys tell him short, because they're able to see it.
Let's give them a minute to come back. Test, test. Test, test. I'm trying to test this mic.
Sacrifice.
Is it working now? Is it yes?
She doesn't like it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to item number 8, which concerns expenditures by the commission, and I'll recognize Carrie for her presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your materials, you have a memorandum from me. It's probably not surprising because at the last meeting, we talked about the challenges of the requirement in the statute that we send our notifications via email to filers. Being that this is the first year that all of these folks are going to be getting emails from the commission, we do have a concern about reaching folks by email, that those emails could hit somebody's spam or be inadvertently disregarded by filers. And the goal is always compliance, so that the public has the transparency of these disclosure forms and they serve their stated purpose. So what we would like to do that we think would be the most cost-effective thing to do and help be a belt and suspenders approach to notifying filers is after we send our official legal notification of the filing requirement, a few days later send out a postcard to filers by mail to catch their attention, to remind filers who are not yet registered in the system at all that they've been sent a token to register, that they need to get in the system and register, that their official notification of their filing requirement is there, and they should not disregard those emails. And we've had luck in the past, even though it was not required in August of each year, we would send a colorful postcard reminder to filers who had already received a regular mail notice, who had been sent a certified mail notice, and fines were gonna hit in September. In August, we would send a postcard and say, hey, 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 don't forget that envelope, you know, those envelopes you've received from us, and we did get a really good response from those. So we think this will be a good tool. It is not contemplated in our current budget, as with other things that we talked about. Carry forward funds for the purpose of implementing the EFDMS system would be what we would use. The postage is the most expensive thing, and it will exceed my expenditure authority of $10,000. And if we do the pre-sort rate rather than the first class rate, I think the postage comes in at $13,200, estimated if we send 33,000 postcards out. And we don't know what that number will be because more and more people are getting into this system. So I would ask your approval to do 2 postcard mailings to filers, one in June, and I think we have the other one possibly July, to get those filers to file in time and get them to pay attention to this new way of doing things. So the total would be $30,000 for this purpose, and I would ask your approval to make those expenditures.
Are there any questions? One, two. Only because that's how my ears went. And I've been accused of favoring this side. So.
Just for some information, how many of the, is it 33,000 total that just got a file Form 6? Is that the approximate?
Through the chair, it's usually between 39,000 and 40,000. But what we're hoping is that we will have to send fewer postcards because we will have sufficient numbers registered. It is a qualifying year for elections, so people will tend to be in earlier.
That was the second part of my question. What percentage of the population is already logged in and registered?
I don't have percentages, but in my e-filing report that I know you all always look forward to, the total number of registered filers right now is 1,437
Out of 39?
out of roughly 39,000. So we've got a ways to go. Now, to be fair, we have not yet sent out invitations to register to Form 1 filers. We are waiting to have the call center in place to do that. So with that, we expect especially the state filers to be pretty quick onto that because they've been really looking forward to this. I think the filers we are going to have the biggest challenge reaching are the local Form 1 filers who have traditionally filed elsewhere, you know, with their supervisor of elections. I think those are going to be the ones that we're going to have to really work with to get them in, and we're going to leverage our call center to help reach those folks as well.
And my last question, this dollar amount, has it already been budgeted, which is authorizing spending, or is it something new?
Through the chair, this would be coming out of carry forward dollars, which we've contemplated in our budget submissions to the House and Senate, that we would like to use our carry forward dollars to work with unanticipated costs associated with getting each item to the ground.
Second.
Was there a,
I do have a comment. In terms of your computations, are you aware that the post office is proposing yet another increase in postage in July?
It seems like they're raising the postage
Significantly.
Commissioner, each month, but no, this is based on the amount that was shared with us from the legislative bulk mail permit. So with that in mind, if you're asking me to ask for your authorization to mail out the number of postcards we need to mail out, at whatever the
I just don't know how the increase is going to impact that kind of mailing.
right.
It's pretty significant for first class. And I just wanted to make sure that we're aware, maybe even more.
Through the chair, the first class amount, I think, was running about 18,000 postage, so we're gonna do the pre-sort. But with that in mind, if the commission is so inclined to make sure that we have the ability to do this, if you would authorize me to do that pre-sort postage amount for the number of filers we need to send the postcard to for 2 postcard mailings. I would appreciate that authorization, and that way I don't have to come back.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
trying to
ask
avoid.
again for June and July.
That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yes, sir.
I think she needs a big roller for every stamps, that way when it changes,
Yeah.
But I know about the postage, the pre-sort is the cheapest way, if you're sticking up for every stamp, and I think that's what you're talking about. Those are the ones that are gonna go up, the pre-sort is normally, and the postcard is probably the cheapest, you're gonna get something out of those individuals.
Yeah, but for the volume that we're dealing with, it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I concur. Do we need to amend it to authorize,
If I can,
the second,
I'm gonna amend I'll amend the approval to allow the commission to mail out the number of mailers they need to 33,000, notwithstanding the increase in postage. So she doesn't come back to the commission.
I would second that, and to the people watching, this has already been budgeted, we already approved the budget, so it's not like just spending money for the sake of spending money, that's why I was asking those questions.
Thank you for that.
Well, really, if I may, through the chair, if you spend the money up front, hopefully to secure as many people filing, it'll save money in the back end in investigating these matters. So I think it's money well spent.
All right, is there any further discussion on the motion on the table?
When I got one question to ask, I probably even asked anymore, but when I first got in the legislature, I got a hard check, and it was sent from the state, before they, twist my arm, make me do the direct deposit. The reason I'm asking that, because back home, my water bills, right, that we get, our utility bills, they stuff a lot of stuff in there, and it's got posters already being mailed, so I'm wondering if there's a vehicle out there that we can, I'm looking inside, we're looking in the back of there. I'm wondering if there's a vehicle out there by which we can piggyback off of while we cut some of this cost, just throwing that out.
We're looking at everything we possibly can, and after you vote, I'll talk about the e-filing report and talk a little bit about that.
All in favor of the motion on the table to approve the expenditure?
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty. And
Thank you.
that moving right into the executive director's report and legislative report and the filing update.
Okay. You have my legislative report in your materials. I'm sorry, I'm stuck in a hole. I'll just do it from here. You have my legislative report in your materials. I don't have anything to add to that. Senate Bill 7014 was passed. It has, as far as we have seen, has not yet been provided to the governor for his consideration. So I don't have anything else to update you with there. For the executive director's report, you have my written report. I wanted to let you know that the total as of March 31st, incoming call totals to your favorite staff has been 8,516 incoming calls, and we're not even in the thick of things yet. So that's the whole universe of incoming calls to our office. I also have a bit of sad news. We are today is Joe Burns, our staff attorney. It's his last day with the commission. We had some sweets in his honor yesterday afternoon. We are so sorry to see him go. He has done some great legal work for us. I know that he's always been willing to step up and assist with whatever legal issue came through the door. I know that Steve has enjoyed getting to know him. I know that Kathy and Ray as well have enjoyed working with him. He has contributed a lot to our staff. He is leaving us for a job in the federal government. Many of you know he served our country valiantly, and so he's going to work for the federal government. Have no fear. I know we're poised to hire our next great attorney. We've been interviewing, and we expect to fill that quickly. And Amelia Naomi, our former summer legal intern, will be joining our staff permanently in a week or two. So exciting things are happening, although today when Joe walks out the door, we will bid him a fond farewell and tell him he is always welcome back. So if I can move on to e-filing, we are continuing with our EFDMS rollout. As I mentioned a moment ago, the total number of registered filers in EFDMS on or after January 1st, 2024 is 1,437. I believe, and Kim can raise her hand if I'm wrong, that is in addition to the registrants that were already in existence from 2023. There were also 437 non-incumbent, non-filer candidates who have registered since January 1st. And so far, there have been 1,670 Form 1 disclosures filed. This includes not only the Form 1, but the amendment form from Form 1X and final forms, Form 1F. At our last meeting, that number was 419, so it's going up. There have been a total of 2,903 Form 6 disclosures. That's way up from last time. I think last time it was maybe 204. That number of Form 6s includes 133 city commissioners and mayors who are filing the Form 6 for the first time. So a total of 3,554 disclosure forms e-filed so far this year. We have a long way to go. We're going to be in the June frenzy in the blink of an eye. So right now we're continuing to solidify the list, these email addresses, push updates to the system, get hot fixes done in the system. We have sent invitations to register to new Form 6 filers a couple weeks ago. That includes you all. I know we have at least one commissioner who has been in there, and we stand ready to assist you with that. A second invitation to register to Form 6 filers will be sent out the last week of April. And again, these are invitations to register. We will send the official notice in early May. We want to get as many people in and notified. Our issue tracking ticket system is finally in place. We have a filing kiosk set up at our office. And at the beginning of next week, we plan to start training our call center representatives to put that live. And they will be, again, helping Form 1 filers file their forms. They will be helping filers who call, who have username and password questions, invitation to register questions, navigation questions, and Form 1 only. Form 6 filers will come to us. May 6th is our target date for sending out the official notifications, and as you know, we are going to be bolstering that with postcard mailers. We want to encourage people to file early, to get in the system and get used to it early. Last year, filers told us they liked how the system walked them through the form. They had a better understanding of what it was they were supposed to file. The system helps eliminate some unintended errors that people might make on the form. So we hope between now and the June meeting, we have a number of Form 1 and Form 6 filers who get their forms filed. By the next time we meet, our call center will be up and running. The official notifications will have gone out to all filers, and we'll start to have a sense of what we're going to be dealing with this filing season. One way that we're going to utilize our call center folks is to make calls to people who haven't registered in the system. Make calls to people who have not yet filed once we get past that July deadline, to notify people by telephone, hey, you haven't filed yet, you need to get in. Let me help you get logged in, and that'll be something that we just haven't had the staff to be able to do in the past. So hopefully that will help fill in any of the gaps.
Question.
Oh, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, if you finish, right? I don't know.
Yes, sir.
And you just touched on it too. I was thinking about the cost of notification, like through Texas, because almost every one of them has cell phones, I think. And just a reminder, quick, boom, because they're gonna look at the text probably in the meeting, or me, just a reminder that, you need to file that.
Through the chair, Commissioner Newton, Commissioner Figurs did mention that a while back. We raised that issue to the programmers who are working on the system. They are researching what all that would entail to get something like that up and running in our system. That is something that is on our wish list. It's not something we have just yet, but my fingers are crossed. I do agree with you. I pay a lot more attention to a text message than I do to an email, so unless it's from one of you. And so if I got a text message that says, you know, check your system, this is happening, hey, you're gonna get fined if you don't file by tomorrow, you know, that's gonna grab people's attention, so we sure hope that we can get that.
I'm looking at what maybe the calls first, the calls, that we approved that on our video conference, the calling. Also, the hackers, the spammers are using them, so I guess they work. They get texts every day from them. So, and another one I want to bring up, for us a registration, we have required ethics training, which comes from the ethics. So why can't we do a required login doing that to make it one less thing, so they can get into the system? Just thinking outside the box. They're already there, and they're required to do the training, so if they do that, then they'll be all set. Training,
Through the chair.
required training and your login.
Yes, actually, the training requirement, public officials are not required to get the training from the Ethics Commission. So we don't have a login or a training module on our system that we manage, that we could kind of co-locate, if you will. When the legislature passed the training requirement and the rules were passed regarding that, it was a menu approach. It was designed to try to make it as easy as possible for these officials to get the training, where their board lawyers could provide the training, where they could get it at their association meetings, you know, or a member of the commission staff could provide it. We do have some videos and training available on our website, but it's free.
But I'm thinking that those bodies who are actually doing the training, you know, like for instance, St. Pete City Council or another county commission, you can get that to them. The individuals right there, the ones that are required to log in. So I'm just trying to figure out a way to get more, because you like to say we're at like 2,000 out of 30, 40,000 people. So I'm just trying to figure out a quick way, because I know they have to do that. That's required. But it'll be one less thing that you can piggyback it or get it to the people who administer it if it's not us. I mean, because we got to accept those, because I know we get cases where people have not did the training, or it's alleged they didn't do the training, and that's why they're here. So I know we accept it from wherever it comes from, to say they did it, because they're not just checking a box. So I'm thinking that we can get some kind of communication, a flyer or a process that they can just show them or tell them during that, then that's probably wouldn't cost them much, so we can do something like that. It'll be one less thing, because now I got the ethics training, and I got to do a lot of place trying to get this is power on. Not making excuses, but looking for ways that we can probably get it out there and get that number close to 80, 90%, even 100.
I don't know, and something we could look at to see would be whether there would be a way to put some training for the 4-hour requirement within our system, but the Ethics Commission does not provide the training. Our staff could never provide the training on the public records law or the sunshine law, because we don't administer that law. So that training they have to go elsewhere for as well. So we'd have to get another entity, and I see Steve might have an idea.
I've sat through it. I mean, we had big press on the room. Not all of us, everybody out of the city and the county, who would meet, and they would have a lunch and learn, and they would do it like all of us right there. We would sign up. I'm just curious.
I think the biggest category of people that file financial disclosure are public employees, and they're not required to get the ethics training under the law. It's only a very small portion of people that are required to get the ethics training. It's the elected members of governing boards and certain other individuals, but they're listed in there, but they're essentially all the public employees and a lot of the other appointed advisory boards and things like that. They're not required to get the ethics training.
That would be good people.
Are there any other questions or comments on the executive director's report or any other reports? I guess before we adjourn, I want to echo Carrie's thanks and well wishes to Joe. Thank you for your service to the commission and to the country. We appreciate you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Not yet, hold up.
Oh, man.
I want to get your password before you leave, because I want your laptop. I didn't memorize it, but since you're going to DC, you ain't going to be.
I move we adjourn.
Commissioner Akers moved to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.